Okay, so we're going to talk now about the wireless kit and how to set the wireless kit up. So inside the wireless kit, first to open the latches, you just have to pull really hard. Like they will open, I promise. You just have to pull hard and they'll come open. And inside the wireless kit, you're going to find several cords, which we'll talk about in a moment. A very nice large antenna, which we'll talk about in a moment. We'll talk about all this stuff in a moment. A transmitter, a power cord, and it should be 2 receivers with Velcro on the back of them, okay? There may also be some batteries in here. They probably will be used, which will be perfect for this case. But if they're not completely full, you'll definitely want to get fresh batteries before you start. So I'm going to do this with 1 receiver first, then we'll talk about how to add a second receiver. So I've got all the parts I need. Let's go over to my pretend DJ console right here. So don't worry about the fact that I'm using an iPad and this green box to generate the audio. That's literally because I just don't want to set up a computer in the whole case. All you need to know is I've got the output here that's just the same as any, actually this one, that's just the same as any output you would have gotten on your case. It's going to be the 3 pins, like the cable hanging out of the front of your case, or it could be the same 3 pins that you find on the back of any speaker labeled output, okay? That's all you, don't worry about the fact that this is a green box and it's not a computer or it's not the back of a speaker. Any place you find these 3 pins, you can use that as your source for audio. Okay, for me today, I'm just going to use those because it's going to be easier. All right, so the first thing I'm actually going to need is a microphone cable, which I conveniently wound up after our last video. Great. Okay. All right, so I got my microphone cable. So let's talk about setting up the wiring first on the transmitter. So to set up the wiring, we're going to take the cable that fits in the 3 pins. Again, if we were pulling out of the back of a speaker, we would go out of the output jack. We'd use the female and the male pins. Yes, we use binary terms when it comes to these. Okay, plug that in there. Or if it's coming out of the back or front of your case, it could be the cable hanging out of the front of your case, speaker on the floor. Doesn't matter where you're grabbing that sound from. You just need to grab sound from somewhere, because the only place I have sound right now is coming out of this green box. That's where I'm going to grab it from. And again, I'm going to grab it from the output, not the input. Okay. Then I'm going to take the male end of the cable here, and I'm going to plug it into the female socket labeled mono. Mono means single source instead of stereo, which is dual source, right? So plug it into one labeled left, 1 plus mono. So plug that in, nice click there. Hook up our antenna. Our antenna hooks up, it's got a little slot that lines up with the peg. So we need to line the slot up first, and then we have a nice quarter turn to latch it into place so that it's nice and solid. Then we can fold the antenna the way it wants to fold and rotate it so it stands up straight in the air. Last thing to hook up to the transmitter is the power. So the power has a strain relief built in right here. You feed the power cord through the hole at the end of strain relief, wrap it around the tab on the strain relief. This one is actually a little bent, so it makes it more fun. There we go. And then plug the power into the power input. The idea behind the strain relief is that if someone kicks this, it doesn't unplug the power, okay? And this obviously goes into power anywhere you can get power. It could be an extension cord, the back of your case. Sometimes I will run an extension cord to the back of one of my speakers and put a power strip on the end of it, so I've got multiple outlets and I'll plug it in there. Whatever works for you at your current setup, that's what you need to do. In my case, I've got outlets right here, so I'm just going to plug it directly into this outlet. Here we go. Okay, so that's plugged in with power. Let's talk about a transmitter real quick, and then we'll talk about setting levels. So we get our transmitter, and we will press the plastic buttons here, not the metal contact. These are metal contacts. That's not what we're pressing. We're pressing the plastic buttons built into the door, and it will open. We'll pay attention to the battery diagram. It's unusual in that the batteries face the same way. So both batteries are going to face the same direction, unusual for probably most electronics you're used to. You'll close that up, and you can test it by turning it on. Should boot up. The red solid light under low battery does not mean low battery. It would be flashing if it had a low battery. You can also see the battery indicator right here. These batteries happen to be full, so they'd be great to use for a venue. If even a single bar is missing, I throw them away, okay? And I replace them. All right, we are now ready to scan for a new channel. So let's first turn our transmitter on, like that. So I pressed and held my power button. And I'm going to go into easy setup. So to navigate into the menu, you press in on this large knob, And this knob does not rotate all the, actually this one rotates all the way around. One of the other transmitters does not rotate all the way around, it only goes up and down. So you just have to click it multiple times up or down to navigate the menu. But this one actually spins, and I'm going to go to easy setup, and I'm going to press in. And it's going to ask me a question. It is asking me, do you want to mute the radio frequency for all connected devices? So what it's asking is, do you want me to stop transmitting so you can scan for a new channel? And yes, I do, so I'm going to press enter to confirm. It now says RF mute. I've got a little light lit up over here to warn me that RF mute is on. And I can come over here now to my receiver and do my scan on my receiver. Now, before we do my scan here, you should scan your wireless microphone in your venue, and you should leave your transmitter, scan and sync your wireless microphone on your DJ case. You should turn on your wireless microphone transmitter and leave it sit like at your DJ table, the head table, somewhere like that while you do this frequency scan. Do not be within 6 feet of the microphone when you're doing the scan. What we want to do is we want to make sure the wireless microphone is broadcasting on the frequency it's going to use, so this does not pick a frequency that interferes with that. Okay? All right, so I've got this on. We can again open these buttons, and we've got, or open the thing here, we've got a few buttons in here. So if I press set, then I've got up and down, I can find easy setup. Take a few. If you go the other direction, it'd probably be faster. Hit set, and now it's asking me, do you want to use the current list, reset the current list, exit, or scan for a new list? And that's the one I'm going to do. So I hit that, and now you can see it's scanning through this range of frequencies, looking. Now this takes 3 minutes or so we can stop. The receiver has finished scanning, and it's telling us that Bank 3 has the most available channels, with 11 of them being free. So I'm just going to accept that by pressing set. It's going to ask me now which channel I want to use. Now I want to use Bank 3, channel 1. And before I hit set here to confirm, all I need to do is point these two little infrared eyes at this little window to the left-hand side. So literally just hold it right there, and if you can catch the display, there'll be a little check mark next to sync. And this is also going to tell you I'm using Bank 3, channel 1. And they're both asking you now to confirm that by pressing enter. So I'm going to press set here to confirm, and that went back to the home screen. I'm going to press set here to confirm. This says stored, and now I'm back on the home screen. I can confirm in 2 ways that I'm on the same channel. I can look at the number at the top, 488.1, 488.1. Second way I can confirm is on the left-hand bars there on the front of the receiver. That's the radio frequency receive strength. It's full all the way to the top. So that's guaranteed I'm getting a signal. Now, is it my signal? It could be the signal from the next room. That's where the number comes in, right? Okay, so there's that. Let's talk about the situation where you might be using 2 receivers with 2 different speakers. So I've already set this up with batteries, and all I got to do is turn it on. And again, I've gone through the point that number 1 is completely ready. I checked my frequencies. That's all good. I'm not going to easy setup again. I'm just going to stay at the home screen here, open the door, point the wireless eyes at the front here, and I'm going to press the sync button on the front. And it's going to flash and say sync, check mark. And now I'm receiving on 488.1. So I've translated the signal from here. This one picked the signal, told this box which signal to transmit on, and then this box told this one which frequency to listen on. Okay, that's how that all worked out. Now, these are both on the same channel. I'm going to go ahead and turn one off because it doesn't matter. And let's get over to our speaker. So in the back of your case, you're going to have several cables, or sorry, in your case, you're going to have several cables. You're going to have 2 headphone to microphone cables. Headphone to male microphone cables, looks like that. These are the ones that go into the back of the speakers. You're going to have 1 big headphone to male cable as well, okay? The big headphone is if you ever need to take the signal from the back of the transmitter and send it somewhere else, because maybe you want to send it to a speaker that's sitting right next to you. You want to take the signal out of your case, put it in here first, and take it from here and plug it into the speaker sitting next to you. This cable enables you to do that. And the way you would accomplish that is by plugging the big headphone part into the left jack. Remember, this is plugged into left. Plug the big headphone part into left. Make sure it's in all the way. And then you can extend or plug that directly into the back of the speaker sitting next to you. And what's happening is the audio is coming out of your computer DJ setup through this cable into here, being converted into a wireless signal to go to your remote speakers, and coming out of here to go into another speaker next to you. Possibly. Maybe you want to use this. Maybe you never use it. Sometimes it's convenient to put the transmitter right next to you. Sometimes it's more convenient to put this over near the speaker and you can just take the output off the back of the speaker as opposed to running the signal through it. You know, whatever works for you. It's just options. You don't have to use it all the time. It's a unique case maybe if you ever have to use it. I don't use it all the time, but sometimes it's just more convenient to be like, you know what? I don't have enough outlets over by the speaker. I don't want to run an extension cord. Let me just go ahead and put the transmitter right next to me and run the signal through it and then out to my speaker. All right, the other cables though, the ones that have the headphone jacks, we're only going to be talking about one transmitter from here on out, but everything's the same for two transmitters at this point now that we've synced our frequencies. So I'll plug the headphone jack in there, right? Just like a regular headphone jack. I take the Velcro and I loosen it. It's running through the belt clip, right? This is designed to be worn on a belt with headphones on stage, just like what artists are using these days when they're on stage, right? For their in-ear monitors. I put it up here in this little part here, and I wrap the Velcro around this handle and Velcro it in place. These little transmitters are ridiculous, or little receivers are ridiculously expensive. So please make sure, however you do it, it's strapped in good. You know, like don't just like hang it off the side of here with a piece of Velcro. Like that's not sturdy enough. These are like $400 each. It's ridiculous how expensive they are. Okay, then we're going to take our cable that's plugged into our headphone jack, and we're going to run it into input number 1 on the back of our speaker. So now again, going through how our audio is getting to there. It's coming out of our iPad. In this case, this would be our DJ box. Coming out of our DJ box, running into the wireless transmitter, being converted to a wireless signal, coming into this antenna, coming out of this cable, and into the back of the speaker. So that's how our audio gets from point A to point B or C or D or whatever this is in your mix. Now, let's talk about testing. So let's turn it on. Let's also turn this on. So this has settings from like 0 to 7, I think, for volume, off to 10. I will just turn it on. I will make sure my level is set at 0 here. My level is set at 0 here. So the big knob and the little knob are both reading 0. And I'll turn this up to about straight up and down. You might call that the 12 o'clock position if you're looking at a clock, but in this case, it's the 5 o'clock, or the 5 position on the numbers. So straight up and down, just like a clock, would be the 12 o'clock position. So there you go. Now, I'm going to come over here, make sure I don't blow you guys away. I'm going to go into the menu, and I'm going to turn the volume all the way down. So I'm going to go into the menu, scroll to audio level, sensitivity, and press enter, and now I can adjust the sensitivity up and down, right? I can go from -42 all the way up to 0. So I'm going to turn it all the way down to -42, and I'm going to press enter to lock that in. Just for testing purposes, we're going to go ahead and load a song onto here, and we're going to hit play. That's a good song. Guy on American Idol made it through during his audition with this song. Okay, it's playing. I'm not hearing anything, right? Why is that? Let's first make sure our volume is up on our iPad. Make sure we're actually getting audio out of the iPad. It was turned down halfway. We're now very, very, very quietly getting audio out of here. So what can I do to fix that? I've got this straight up and down. I've got this at 0. I've got this at 0. But I turn this all the way down. So yes, there are 4 volume controls plus the volume control on your DJ console that are in the mix here. So you have to balance it. You have to take the time to set things up, before your event. Run a sound check, run out there, adjust levels on your speaker, or adjust levels here at your transmitter. So if I just want to turn up my remote speakers, in this case, let's say my main speakers are doing great, good volume. These speakers, not so much. I'm going to go into that same sensitivity menu, turn it up. I like to be between -20 and -10 where the peak is. So you can see the peak is where that bar stays in place. I like to be about -20, -10. I could even be maybe a little higher. There we go. That's where I like to be. Now in this case on the dial, that was -12 was my sensitivity. It's not always going to be -12, but that's what gets me to being somewhere in the middle, right there, right? Okay, so I've got that. I'm now getting audio. The audio level's great. Whatever I'm putting out there is working for my main room. All good. Let's go check my remote speaker. Let's say this is too loud, too quiet. I need to make just a small adjustment. You still have 3 places you can do that here. I would start with this knob, the small knob, and turn it up or down based on what you need, right? And you're just controlling that individual speaker. Now, if you had remote speakers, you might do that at your transmitter if you had multiples, right? Or if someone comes up to you and says, hey, it's way too loud in the bar, you might just get on your transmitter and turn the sensitivity down a few notches. Turn it down half or maybe more. You know, from, you know, if it's at like -12, you can go all the way to -42. Maybe you put it at like -25 or something like that, right? Get it down a lot, you know, so that it's cutting down the volume. But that's it. And then you've got a volume knob here. You've got your volume knob here. You got a volume knob here. So you just get, it's just a combination. You know, I like to start with straight up and down, 5 o'clock/12 o'clock, or number 5/12 o'clock position, 0, and the 12 o'clock position, or the number 0, okay? And then make adjustments from here during my sound check. But things happen. You know, you get loud during your open dancing. You're gonna go check on this multiple times throughout the night. I usually check on it after the beginning of each thing. So after the beginning of cocktail hour, I'll walk out to the cocktail area, make sure it sounds good. I will turn it up or down. I might just adjust it on the speaker at that point. You know, so okay, it's a little quieter, a little too loud. Let me just make a small adjustment on the back of the speaker. Especially if I only have one speaker, that's fine. If I know intros are coming up and this speaker is in a remote location, I don't need it to be booming loud, right? Like in the bar area, you know, the bartender doesn't need to be blown away by Uptown Funk or whatever. I turn it down at the speaker. You know, don't need to blow him out during intros, and he doesn't need to hear the announcements at full volume necessarily, or any guests that are out there. They just need to be able to kind of hear what's going on so they're not missing anything. During dinner, I'll go back out and I'll check, make sure it's at a decent level. Maybe it gets turned up a little bit more since intros are over. During open dancing, again, you go out, maybe you turn it down a touch because it's too loud now in the space that people are trying to have a conversation. So this is something you have to manicure throughout the night to make sure it's at a good level. But that's all you have to do to get wireless audio. It is a lot of steps, but again, you're just taking the audio in, broadcasting it wirelessly, back out, and into the speaker. All right, let's talk about teardown at the end of the night. So first things first, always turn off your speaker first, and then turn off your transmitter, and then you can unhook your cables, undo your Velcro. All right, we'll come back over here. Well, it's basically the reverse of setting up. So we'll unplug this, coil our cable up neatly. We'll go ahead and unplug this. I don't usually turn the transmitter off. Again, we'll gently coil up our power adapter so we're not putting too much strain at the connection point. By the way, the trick to that is to put your fingers right here. Put your fingers right there as you're wrapping it up. I'm just providing some space so it's not being pulled against. And then when I let go, the cables are going to stay wrapped around here, but it's not going to put extra strain on this spot. Okay. And then I'll take my transmitter and receivers back to my case. All right, big things, important things when packing up. First, remove the batteries from your transmitter. If you didn't look, turn them back on, see if the batteries are full. If they're not full, throw them away, right? No need to keep batteries that are not full. These ones are full. Let's check the other one. And these ones are also full. So whoever used this last did a good job. Okay, so we throw those down in there. Other thing about packing these up, to protect this little tiny antenna on this really expensive thing that's non-replaceable for some reason, we're going to put the antenna up here so it's above the level of the foam. Don't put the antenna at the bottom and cram it into the slot. That's not good for the antenna. We're going to keep the antenna straight and at the top as we're putting things in for both of our transmitters, just like that. So that way they're not getting extra strain at those points. Just trying to protect them, make them last longer. Power cord just goes right on top. Any extra batteries you have can just be tossed in there. Antenna, just tip it forward, and again, it's a quarter turn the opposite direction and pulls straight out to get that disconnected. And this guy just lays right there. That's the only place he'll fit. And this guy will go in here. You'll see there's a cutout notch there and a cutout notch here. You can basically see where those things have sat in the past. Last thing is to put our cables on top. So I've got my 3 cables, my 2 headphone cables, and my big headphone cable, and those are neatly on top. Again, I'm making sure that antenna did not roll into the crease of the case. Push down, good firm latches, and you're done. Also need some sort of audio source. We can just take a...
Want my phone?
On iPhone?